What's up everybody, Broskadamus here, and we're back with Final Fantasy Tactics Advance X. Sorry for the slight delay between the episodes here. We had my girlfriend's birthday and everything this weekend, so we're back now with that being done. And we're in for a fairly long episode. Maybe not the longest episode, but it's definitely up there. It's the next story mission. So aside from the preparation phases, the actual mission took a while because I was ill-prepared for what we were going to face. You'll see that pretty soon, but when that time comes. But it turned out okay. I will make some recommendations prior to the mission starting to make it easier on yourselves. I'd forgotten, well, I guess not forgotten because I haven't played this far, but I should have been keeping up on my consumable items to help myself. Let's start with that. I'll reiterate on that pretty soon. But we're going to be picking up the primary mission here and a dispatch mission, and we'll quickly take care of the dispatch mission before starting the next one because it's only a 5-day dispatch. So now, like always, we're going to take a look at all of our characters here and make sure everything's in order. Make sure we're not missing a character who can pick up another item to start learning more abilities. And still trying to decide what to do with Yve here. Might push into fighter, or I could push into ninja later on. But I'm a little afraid of taking out one of my linchpin warriors, warrior types I should say, because he's a soldier, but warrior type characters for the front line. I'm not really ready to take him out of the front line just yet. And I might as well finish teaching him the ability he's learning as he's almost done. Now, trying to decide what to focus on first for jobs, yeah, it's a little bit difficult because there's a lot of stuff I want to get into. But as you can see, we're starting to get into our white mage section of our blue mage here. Oscar's finally going to be able to start learning Cure, and we'll be able to move into blue mage soon. I'm not sure how much I'll use the blue mage, honestly, but I mean, I guess we'll see when the time comes. I am thinking of getting rid of Rolf here. He seems kind of redundant. He hasn't really learned anything, and I've passed him with some of the other characters level-wise, so he might not be necessary. I might remove him as space becomes more necessary to get more characters. But we'll see. I'm keeping him for now. And here I'm going to take a look at Edmund, our enemist. And I'm going to test a few items because I do have some money and I need to pick up a few items anyway. I'm going to test a few animist items on him just to reassert that I understand that the Moogle animist and the New Mao animist use separate markings for their abilities, and to put that a little more clearly, whereas an item will teach a Moogle animist, say, let's use the example sheep count. That's just because it teaches the Moogle animist that doesn't mean it's going to teach the New Mao animist that. So you have to make sure that you find something that is giving the New Mao that ability. It becomes a little bit more convoluted when it comes to this mod because they have to use placeholders. And the placeholders show a spec that's no longer in the game. So the Beastmaster, since that's not in the game for the New Mao anymore, essentially the New Mao animist takes that place and uses that placeholder graphic when looking at the abilities. So it takes a little bit getting used to there, but once you have it, it's not a problem. But it's just a limitation of modding this game, and it's something I had to adjust to because a couple of times I've made mistakes putting an item on assuming it's going to work, and it does not. So, double checking items here, we do have our magic ring, and I figured that the best place to put it would be our offensive black mage, for now. Nobody else can really make too much use from it other than him at this point. I do want to eventually use our Mog Knight for some things. Not sure how much I'm going to use him, but I would like to give it a try, as I, much like my first playthrough, not using a lot of ranged characters, I didn't use a lot of the other peripheral kind of characters that took a little longer to get to. So I choose to send Loki out on this one, because I'm trying to teach him abilities as quickly as possible to catch him up to where I want him to be as our monk. So now we'll just go for a little walk here after I double check our gear. And when it comes to our gear, I do have the improved armor that I decided to give Yve here. I believe it was the crystal? No, diamond armor. Even though it doesn't offer him anything ability-wise, it's still better armor, and why let it sit in your inventory? And we have outfitted Marsh pretty decently as our archer. I picture him more as a heavy archer. He's wearing medium armor, moves slower, can take a lot more punishment. And by slower, I mean can't move as far. But it's definitely been fun using him as an archer because it's a nice change of pace. Running with two archers is kind of interesting, and I will eventually be running with him as a hunter and Colette as a sniper when I actually am able to pick up some sniper-oriented bows. I will switch her over and work back and forth to get the better abilities of the archer and level up through the sniper. So here, taking a look at these items, aside from that graphical glitch there, you can start to see what I'm talking about when it comes to the specific abilities for the previously mentioned Beastmaster who's been switched to the Animist. There are some changes with that, of course. It's not just every Beastmaster ability being transferred over, because the abilities themselves aren't actually transferred over. It's just in the place of what the Beastmaster used to be image-wise. So we're going to take a look here at our Mog Knight, and we're going to take a look at Marius. I decide to bring Marius, our highest level Moogle Animist, because I keep getting Animists, as you may already know. I decide that I want to bring him in this mission to start giving him some experience and some specialization points. Excuse me, had to yawn. So with that in mind, I am going to pick up another Green Beret, and I'm going to pick up a few Animist instruments, I believe is what they're called. And I do test a few of them to see if they transfer over to Beastmaster, or the previous Beastmaster, our new Mal Animist now. I do check and see if they transfer over the same way I would think they would transfer over. And sadly, they don't transfer over as directly as I would want, because it would just make that easier. But as far as the actual function of the skills, it's not overly different. So when I do actually, in this point, pick up the instruments, I'll be able to point it out when we're looking at the character himself. It's not a problem, just something to adjust to. So I'm looking through here, trying to decide if I should pick up some fighter-oriented gear or Mog Knight-oriented gear. I do decide to wait on that, though. I will probably have to work on the Mog Knight at some point, but I do also want to make a gunner. I did not use gunners very much, and since, well, we're at the ranged classes, let's give that a try. And double checking here, seeing if there's anything added to the staff items, or the, I believe they're maces, actually, mace items. And taking a look through, actually, think about picking up the Krenequin, I believe is how you pronounce that. Because it gives Hunter and Sniper abilities, and they'd be interchangeable and it'd be worth the money. I have quite a bit of money, but I cannot justify picking up the Satyr Flute. And as you can see, some of these things like Unburdened Soul for the Illusionist, I believe that's for the new class or the new job that I haven't been able to get into just yet, but we'll know for sure, like Hoarfrost there. It's definitely something that we'll take a look at when we get into it. For those of you that aren't already at that point, I assume most of you are either interested in the mod, like I've said before, or have played it. So a lot of you, I know that the ones that comment the most are ones that have played it, so they already know this. But for anybody who doesn't, this might be useful, hopefully. So when we actually get to that point, and we can look at that and see which ones count for which, I believe it's counting for the new class, but we'll be able to go over it with certainty when that happens, and I'll make sure to mention it. So here, as we look at the consumables, I should have picked up some Soft, which is a gold needle in the other Final Fantasy games, and most of the other Final Fantasy games, and at least in the second one of this game, A2, Grimoire, it's back to being a gold needle. I'm not sure why it was changed for this one, but it's a potion supposedly in this one. Maybe there's translation issues, that is why it was called Soft. Softness potion, I don't know, maybe something was missing, just kind of odd. But definitely, with all jokes aside, pick some of that shit up. Pick some of that up, please. Please, you need to pick some of that up. For this mission, you need to pick some of that up. Make sure you have some of it. Even if you only have one, just bring some. I did not. I'll tell you that right now, I did not. I was not prepared. Don't be me. Don't be me. You'll see soon. It was hellish, and it was definitely functionally crippling. Couldn't have happened to a worse unit, maybe. I guess if it happened to Marsh, things would be shittier. It doesn't get much shittier than who they targeted with it. So now, like I mentioned before, we're going to be putting up our instruments here to double check the abilities. I'm going over it again here to make sure. Immunity is coming from our chest piece, our survival vest there. And we've already mastered, see, I'm taking a look at Wind Slash here, we've already mastered Sheep Count, and it does not affect us, so that is for most likely the newer job. And I still hesitate to call the job by its name because I have a tendency to mix it up with the cultist, so I don't want to say it one way or another because I always forget when I'm recording these which one is which. We'll know when I get it. Alright. Now we're going to go ahead and make a move here. And we're going to walk our 5 spaces to go through our 5 days to get Loki back. I'm not going to be using Loki in this mission, but I would like to get him back to see if he brings anything worthwhile back. We do have a spawn, and we need to go one more. And dispatch. We got our ancient text and the Shamshir, and a level up. Less important though. But look at that cheeky fuck. Just appearing exactly where we need to go. So we're gonna have to deal with that. We're double checking here that he's almost mastered. One more dispatch will master him that. And as always, before we forget, make sure everybody's equipped. Even if I'm not bringing Loki, I would like to equip him with basic gear while I'm using him as dispatch. And we did equip Edmund with another ability, and I did so just in case immunity does not count toward his 2 skills mastered. I'm not sure if there might be an odd effect with that or not, so just to be safe, I'm teaching him another ability. 100% wool, I believe is what it was. And we did equip our Animist with the block arrows ability, just to be safe. And we take a gamble here, and I'm glad it worked out, and another, and I'm glad it worked out. Otherwise, this video might be more delayed than it is, because I'm recording it in kind of a restricted time frame. So let's save to be sure, and please ignore the odd transition there. I did accidentally minimize my goddamn game again. I need to make sure that I don't hit anything that would cause my game to minimize, because it does crash my recording. It's nothing to do with the mod. Just to let you know. It's definitely my fault. So, that guy howling, if that's what it was, on that cliff there, is one of the most dangerous enemies in this mission. Especially if you don't have soft with you. And you'll see quickly why. I am going to tell you why, but you will see almost immediately why you're fucked. Potentially if you don't bring any, or a cleanse ability like Asuna. Either or would be fine. Asuna, I feel, by itself is a little risky still, just in case they do end up petrifying your one unit that can use it, but I was afraid definitely of that unit up there, because I am afraid of the Panther units in general, because they tend to have ranged attacks, and they also tend to be fairly quick, and he can't actually jump off of there. Which is nice, but he can quickly move around because he's a Panther and work his way down. So our Panther here gets to go first, and now that it's Colette's turn, we'll be taking a look at these enemies. We do have a Flan here, which is going to be rough. And we have a Mutilate Goblin, and we have a Dragon. I'm always not happy about seeing dragons. Fucking dragons. They're really physically tough. And yes, there's Poison Claw, like I was afraid of. But here we have Petrify. Blaster. It is a ranged ability, keep that in mind. It is a ranged ability, and we are not out of range of it. Because I wasn't aware that it was a ranged ability. So he's going to get a turn next after Colette. And there's not a fucking thing I can do about it. Oh my god. I'm still upset that I allowed that to happen and that I was unprepared. Don't do as I say, not as I do. Definitely pick up. Make sure you have enough consumables. Even consumables you don't think you're going to need, have a couple with you. I usually do that, but I got lazy. I got lazy and waited too long to pick some up. I did learn from it, and I now have a bunch for the next episodes of various consumables that I might need. And we'll be picking up Asuna very soon on our White Mage. So now we're faced with a choice here. Can we do anything with Colette? Our best option I choose is to immobilize, or attempt to. And it does land. That is pretty lucky. He is now relegated to using his ranged Poison Claw. But here's what I was talking about. He's able to reach our character from the start. Knowing that, put your fastest character over there, or move him up one. I'm not sure if he can be reached from the next start point. But sadly, we do lose our new Animist, Marius. He never gets to take part in the mission. Spoiler. So we're man down the entire mission right from the start. So it's a great start. This is a rough one. This is a rough one. And we're in it for the long haul. I am double checking, and at this point kicking myself for not having any Petrify Cure. But we're going to press on anyway, because that's what we do. So since we don't have anybody to heal, we should immediately start protecting. There is an option to be able to kill your own petrified unit, and it would break Petrify, and then you could revive him. But as you can see, I missed him there, which is something I didn't even know you could do. I actually kind of laughed at that. But he does take significantly reduced physical damage while in petrified form, so it takes quite a few turns for your units who could be dealing with a much more threatening enemy to try to bring him back. So I chose to never bring him back using a KO, so I left it. And I choose to slow the Flan because I'm not really in a position where pinning him leg-wise would matter. So let's slow him down and damage his magic ability. Since physical damage does almost nothing to these things, you have to line them up to do magic damage to be more efficient. And if you do lower them to critical, they will run next to you and use their magic of choice on you and themselves, healing themselves, and it's just a vicious cycle. It's brutal. They need to be brought down quickly, or they'll quickly whittle down large sections of your team if you stay bunched up. And 51 damage is a lot, but this Flawn's got a lot of health. And here comes the fucking dragon. Dragons, as always, are brutal. And luckily, he does have a single target attack, and he seems to prioritize that target against, for some reason, my black mage, but I believe that has something to do with health numbers. Him having a fairly low health number, the AI tries to attack him over others, and he tries to prioritize the strongest attack against him. So for the benefits of that, obviously, is he's not AoEing the shit out of my guys, the ones that would actually take damage. I was afraid he was going to attack both of them, or attack Colette and Marsh over here on the other side. So the fact that Drain is ranged on that goblin doesn't, and the fact that he uses it so much, doesn't really suit immobilizing him right now. So I take a shot in the dark and go for the dragon. And it does land. Bit of luck on our side, aside from the fact that we lost our animist in the first 2 turns. 3 turns. It's a bad deal. It's a bad deal. You never want to be man down for any reason. Even if you wanted to challenge yourself, you still don't want to be man down. You want to have control of the fight. And that Drain is an aggravating ability, actually forcing me to ignore the goblin. Even though I didn't want to ignore the goblin for damage, he is able to heal some of it, so I can't just throw attacks at him if I can't guarantee the fact that I can kill him quickly, because he'll start to heal up through it if I don't focus on him. But there's a whole lot of threats on the field. All of these enemies are pretty dangerous. The only one I would argue isn't as dangerous is perhaps the Flan, just because of the AI and how that works. He might continue to target targets that won't take damage from him, or he'll continue to target just single targets. So I am happy about that. That might be something you can use to your advantage. And now we commence speed breaking, because that's one of our best options here, especially against that goblin. If you can slow him down, then you can stack up turns against him, and you should be able to kill him before he can do significant damage or significant healing with Drain. Alright. And I choose to slow down the dragon. His turn is coming up, and he is going to suffer the most from slow at this very moment. There is a mosquito flying around my head. Son of a bitch. We got a ways to go, too, so he gets to live a while longer. And here comes one of the biggest threats off of the goddamn mountain. Let's start with trying to control some of these units here. I struggle with this for a little bit, trying to decide if I want to try to immobilize or save the blind for when our petrifying friend comes down. The problem with pinning the Panther with Blaster is the fact that he can use it at range, and it will compel him to use it at range. So I decided early on that my best chance to not have him totally fuck my entire team beyond belief is to attempt to blind him. Obviously, it's more complicated than that, but that was my best attempt. And we did miss the Flan there, and that is brutal. That means he's going to have another turn, and we're bunched up. I did calculate being able to kill him before his next turn, and that miss pretty much screwed that up. And that 53 damage is nothing to dismiss. And we need to heal up. That's going to be a common theme here. This turns into a pretty nasty attrition battle pretty quickly, and it's just an attempt to survive it. We have to make heavy use of our white mage. And that Drain gets really old. Not because of the heal from it, but more of the fact that he can attack us as he pleases because of the ranged nature of it. It's very upsetting. So now Marsh has aim leg, which is great. It's just a great ability. Deciding what to do with it, though, is a little more difficult in this case, where everything is a threat. So instead, I go for the safer option. Try to get around behind or to the side, and just do what I can to slow down the enemies. And it does land, thank God, but our Petrify buddy up here is coming down. On his next turn, he'll be in range to attack us again, and that's troubling, to put it lightly. If he does Petrify somebody else, I think we're screwed. If he is able to land another Petrify, it's game over. I feel like it's that simple. In this situation, of course, your situation might be different, but the fact that we've already lost one sleep unit. The sleep unit was my answer for ranged enemies, and we don't have him anymore. So with that in mind, losing another control person, or a control unit, I should say, in the form of, say, Colette or Marsh, we're boned. And we do have the Flan attacking my Black Mage again, and I'm very happy about that. So that does speak some to its the fault in the AI there, I think. I mean, in any other circumstance, it makes sense to attack the lowest health unit, so it's just classic, but I don't know how that landed. I'm still in awe, even watching this again, even though I knew it happened. I'm still in awe that we were able to land a front-facing blind, desperation blind on that Panther. And when that happened, a tinge of hope hit me that maybe we can do this. And hurting both of those units again, bringing the Flan down to the position where you can actually potentially kill him on your next turn using our Black Mage, and the fact that we might be able to bring that Panther down, the Red Panther, and even up the score a little bit, was really great for morale. And he does land a front attack while blinded on Yave. So the luck isn't all on my side, but it is definitely helping me. And this is why I don't want to get rid of Yave as our frontline soldier here. He's taken more punishment in this mission than anybody else right now, and has stood the task. So if I can, I want to keep him kind of as a tanky front line, but I don't really want to sacrifice his speed by forcing him into the Paladin role. And there's one Panther down. One less enemy to worry about, one less enemy to control, and one less enemy who can get lucky hits on you while blinded facing you in the front. So now we're going to attempt to slow him down successfully. So now we have that Panther pretty well controlled, but he is still a threat because of RNG. If RNG is on his side, he will still petrify somebody regardless of being blinded. So it's always something to be careful of, and I would recommend killing him first with the realization that blind doesn't seem to affect petrify. You'll see in a moment why I say that, and it was horrifying for me to realize it, and it directed all of my attacks upon that Panther afterwards, knowing that it's still a 50% chance to petrify. I was amazed to see that. I'm not sure if that was a bug or if that was just that instance, but that's still a huge chance to hit with a insta-kill ability in this case, because I don't have any way to counter it, an insta-kill ability, and blind does nothing. So I have to make a decision here. Since I can't get into a good position with Colette here, I do use her to heal our tank. I still stand by that decision. I also wanted to save up her mana for use in more emergency situations. And did you see that snake motherfucker? That snake-ass maneuver through two of my units to punch my Black Mage in the back. Are you kidding me? I've never seen that before. And everything's going downhill. The dragon just pecked Colette in the back of the head and killed her. We need to get the Black Mage back up, because we need to kill that Flan. Without him targeting the Black Mage, Diesel in this case. Without that Flan attacking Diesel, he's going to attack somebody else with Thundara and straight up kill someone else. And we can't have that. But we do kill him before his next turn. Luckily, through that revive, through the White Mage, winning us attrition wars. Now, Flan is out of the way, the Red Panther is out of the way, but we need to kill the fucking Blue Panther. The Blue Panther cannot be left alone. And it becomes, at this point, I'm desperate to kill him already, but the minute he uses his Petrify and it's not affected by Blind, at least in the numbers, I could be wrong in the actual function, but according to the numbers, Blind didn't affect his Petrify ability at all. And this is front-facing. We do get the 50-50 miss, though, and that's huge. And I am glad that he moved that body out of the way, because I would really like all access to be able to kill the Blue Panther. This does force me to ignore the pretty much running around everywhere he pleases with impunity Goblin here. I'm not pleased about that, and I'm also not pleased with him standing next to my White Mage. Especially after my White Mage is literally our backbone here, keeping everybody alive and keeping everybody in the fight. If I didn't have the White Mage, it'd be over. We wouldn't have been able to bring up Diesel, he wouldn't have been able to kill the Flan. The Flan would have one-shotted somebody else. One-shot's probably the wrong word. Everybody's kind of wounded at this point. He'd be able to finish off somebody, for sure, and it would be over. Easily. Same thing with that 50% chance to petrify, it'd be over. And I do choose to do Thundara instead of an AoE here, just in an attempt to kill him and not to have to risk hitting Yavei here, because Yavei is hurt pretty bad. I don't want to do any more damage to him if I can help it. But I want to do maximum damage to that Panther. Checking the turn order, he's not coming up for a little while, so it's a relief to know that I can probably kill him before he gets the chance to act on his 50% petrify chance again. Excuse me. With that in mind, kill him. Kill that Blue Panther. If you can kill him, or put him to sleep, or in any other way cripple his ability to use petrify, do it. Do it, and bring soft. Bring soft. Even if you can't kill him right away, if you bring soft and have a couple of units that can use item, do it. Do both. Please. Save yourself the trouble. This mission would have been a lot shorter, I feel, if I had brought the proper items. If I had known about this, I wouldn't have put the Animist on the end there. Though I figured, like, I figured he was up there for a reason, that maybe he had a ranged ability, so I put my faster, slightly tankier unit on the outside there, figuring he'd be able to go first, or quickly enough to not get totally screwed. I was wrong, of course, but you can definitely learn from the mistake I made here, and make it easier on yourself, and I'd prefer it if you did. No reason to make it any more difficult. This is one of the more difficult missions, I think, in quite a while. The enemy makeup is horrifying. They're a really balanced group of enemies with a lot of threats, so it's definitely something to worry about at all times. Even when I was locking things down, I mean, locking down the dragon was really, really great, and it was a great boost of confidence, but I still didn't feel safe, which could speak to a pretty good design on this mission. At no point during this mission did I feel safe until that Panther was fucking dead. And then safe was a relative term because of this. Straight up killed her ass. 106 damage. She was facing him. But, as always, Yavei, never going down for anything. He's not having anybody's shit. He's like, no, I'm in it for the long haul in this one. I'm gonna be the last one to die, or the first one to kill you. And we do not have enough mana, but we do have enough to land the AoE, and I will go for it. And that does bring our Panther down quite a ways, aside from leveling up Diesel. does bring our Panther down quite a ways, and I believe that is the first time Yvei's fallen on low health after being poisoned and literally targeted by everything in the middle of the battle the entire time. He finally falls wounded, but not out, because of first aid. Doesn't recover a lot, but he does cleanse that poison finally, and there's no way to get the poison back. So he's free of that status effect for sure, and we definitely need to make sure this guy dies. And we have the option. And now we can draw a collectively slow sigh of relief. Finally. That was the first moment that I thought, I'm in control now. I'm in control again of this battle. It's not over. That dragon will still fuck us up, and leaving that goblin alone is a mistake. But we have some control. There's no way I can bring the Animist out of that. But at this point, I don't have to. Especially with our white mage still intact, and the fact that the dragon can't hit him on a corner square nearby because of the way that the Ice Breath works. So as long as I stay on the corners of his range, he's not able to hit me with the cone. So I made use of that to make sure I was in range to pick up Colette. And I'll make use of it again and place Colette in another one of those corners to deal damage to the goblin. Or at least in this case, decide to pin him down. Looking at this from hindsight, I don't think pinning him was necessary. I was afraid of him moving around behind Diesel, or to the flank of Diesel, of course, but I tried to optimize the best way for him to take that attack, because I was relatively sure he was going to be the target. He was the lowest health, he was next to him. There wasn't anything I could do about it. At least looking at it here, there's nothing I could do about it. And here's where I do test, I believe. No. I decide against it. Just, there's no way, and there's no reason to do it. I was going to test how much damage I can do to the Animist, but I decide that it's not worth it for Yvei to use that at this point, because he is still low health, and that dragon is going to come out of crowd control very soon. But back to the goblin. If I hadn't pinned him, he would have flanked and attacked Diesel anyway, but in the end it doesn't matter. He was able to knock him out from the front anyway. And for fear of the dragon, we do power break him, which is useful. It's not going to save your life in the long haul, but it is useful for those moments when he is not controlled, which will be coming up very shortly. And hopefully, when he does come out of it, he doesn't immediately kill someone. I'm going to start whittling away at him because he is the biggest threat right now. At least that's what I've decided. He does the most damage, he's got an AoE, and I can kind of tank the attacks from the goblin. And especially since he's controlled, I can definitely tank the drain attacks. They don't do nearly as much damage as his basic attacks. So, in a way, pinning him was preparing for the future, and in another way, it may not be necessary, as he seems to default to the ranged attacks whenever possible anyway. At least if you place a unit that is out of his reach that he definitely wants dead, say a low health unit, he will go for that unit. And the dodge. There wasn't much I could do there. Doing a little bit of damage to the goblin would have had him healing himself anyway, so I tried to deal out the damage to the dragon that I know can't heal himself and I want it. So as always, our white mage keeping the sinew of our bones together. And I'm going to slowly retreat him away. And that miss is what I was hoping for in the first place. But we did get it the second time, which is better than none of the time. I am retreating my white mage away as I anticipate the dragon's going to be coming out very soon, checking his movement, trying to decide if I want to move Colette out of his range completely, or use her as bait, which sounds terrible, but it's sometimes necessary. I keep her in range, hoping that he'll go after her when he does come out of his crowd control. Unfortunately, he goes for the breath. Something I did not anticipate, sadly. But as always, it does no damage to our Black Mage, because he doesn't take any elemental damage. But he does hit Yevei, and I'm not happy about him hitting Yevei, because he's been through enough, and I don't want him to die, because if he dies, he's kind of our linchpin here. He's the other half of our team, aside from our healer. He's our tank. Anybody familiar with an MMO is familiar with my analogy, I guess you would call it. It's kind of a shit analogy, but you'd be familiar with it. You always need a tank and a healer. Yevei's been that tank. He hasn't gone down, he hasn't needed a turn to be revived, he hasn't needed to be focused on for healing more than necessary. He didn't need a Phoenix down from a potential damage dealer or controller's turn. So, in my book, perfect. He kept attention, he took the beating, and never went down. And our healer took its time, picked everybody up when necessary, and kept everybody alive. And Colette's bringing down the blinds. It's very important blind on that dragon. I'm very, very pleased with that blind. I'm also pleased with that miss, but more pleased with the blind. It makes the dragon's ability to hit very minimal. Kind of like a psycho swinging around a large hammer. I guess like fuck, what's a good reference to that? Well, games are popular with you damn kids. What is it? I guess Dark Souls, fighting the Taurus demon at the beginning. I don't know why I said you damn kids. It's totally irrelevant. I played that fucking game. I love that game. The Taurus demon at the beginning, he's got that big giant hammer. It's kind of hard for him to hit you because you can roll under him or roll away, and he's real slow and he could fall off because he's clumsy. But if he does hit you, it hurts like fuck. It's kind of like that. Dragon's like that. He can't hit anything, but if he does hit you with it, it hurts like fuck. Alright, with that being as convoluted as it was, I don't think that was even necessary. I think everybody fucking got the idea. But, I don't know. Sometimes I like to make nonsensical analogies to things because I can, I guess. I guess I can throw out a reference that I'm going to be doing something Souls related. Not Souls anymore, I suppose. It's Blood now. But I'm going to be doing something related to that soon. Did I just straight up tell you? Is that not vague enough? I don't know. Some of you will probably get that, but I'll be doing something with that very soon, within the next week or so. It's not replacing this by any means, but I will be doing something like that very soon. And you'll see that pretty soon. It's just kind of a fun aside, something that I really enjoy. So, back to relevancy. We have the Goblin where we want it. The big thing is switching to the Goblin, the fact that we did have enough turns up on him, and we were able to kill him before he could heal. And the fact that the dragon is pinned and blinded, he is not in a position that he can retaliate effectively. Therefore, I was okay with ignoring him for now, keeping only Diesel in range because he wouldn't take any damage from the actual breath attack, and we await his demise. Pick up a few levels along the way, too. But I am very surprised that we were able to succeed this. The first half of this entire mission looked terrible. It looked absolutely terrible. I looked at it and thought, well, this will be a loss, but I'll play it through. So I guess a good lesson there is just play it through. You never know what's actually going to be a loss until you've lost. And just like that, we won. Somehow we won. This one I was ill prepared for. Unfortunately. The next one will not be so. I will make sure that I have the appropriate items, and we won't run into this situation. This exact situation, of course. The ill-prepared version of it. Ever again. We still will run into some roadblocks, I'm sure. Because I don't know what's coming in the next episode, or in any of the other episodes at this point. Just be as prepared as you can, pick up those consumables and do what you can. And then when you do drop into the mission, survey what you're fighting. If you're fighting a flan like I was in this case, bring a magic damage dealer and adjust your plan accordingly. But probably preaching to the choir at this point, because if you're watching this, you're probably familiar with the game in the first place. And if you're not, well, hey, welcome. Why don't you play the original game? It's on the internet. You can play it for the PC now, or you can, if you have a Game Boy Advanced or farther along, of course, that can play Game Boy Advance games, go give it a try. I have the base game for the Game Boy Advanced, and I bought A2, the Grimoire, Grimoire, the second one, Grimoire of the Rift. And I need to play that one more. I didn't like it as much, but that might just be me. But with mission complete, we do get to place the Ulay River. Anyway, we get to place that down, and we'll be jumping into the next mission very soon, and I will see you then. But until then, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.